Good evening. This is Adam Guyman from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I'm actually going to be making this. It's kind of a quick video, I guess. I don't know how long it'll actually be, but see, I want to get back far enough into the shot here because I want to get this really nice shirt that I'm wearing. It's a Chronically Jackie one that Chronically Jackie and Izzy Cornblow had put together, and I loved the message on it, and so I wanted to say that, but tonight, and it's not been the only time that this complaint has probably been made, but there's a Maverick on North Temple and 200 West in Salt Lake City, Utah. It is on the northwest corner of the intersection. And for some reason or another, it seems like there's people who, and I think this is probably the person who works at the store, but I know for a fact, just going back on what memory I have been basically, I have made complaints before at this store, before this location, and there's people who park their cars in the hashtag area. Now, yeah, I could have probably squoze by hoping not to hit this person's car while driving my power chair to get myself, onto the curb cut. That's not the best curb cut. It's not a direct path, not at the angle that I would have been at to get up onto the sidewalk to go into the store. But for those who don't know what Maverick is like a 7-Eleven, but it's a more local. I don't like the word convenience either because it's taken out of context, but it's a convenience store basically. And unfortunately, it's in the area that I was at. Basically, in a nutshell, a car was parked in the hashtag area. And now the hashtag area is designed for access for a wheelchair or a wheelchair lift or ramp coming out of a vehicle. Now, to the left of that spot is a space for a wheelchair accessible vehicle, or as someone who has a placard or a license plate that's a wheelchair accessible license plate for accessibility for someone who can't walk very far, which technically the front door is a little farther to the left than that. The wheelchair accessible area should be in front of the door, but it's actually off to the side if you really technically are looking at this. Now, I did take a quick video showing that the person's vehicle was parked in the hashtag area, which is directly in front of what I kind of figured out later is the dumpster area. There's a gate or a fence of some sort that covers it. The only other vehicle I would accept being there is the person who's picking up the garbage, and other than that, no other vehicle should be parked. I basically had ended up going out around because there's a sidewalk. There wouldn't have been a problem per se if there would have been a curb cut on that sidewalk. But I went out to the main sidewalk, went around, and there's a sidewalk that goes from the main sidewalk on 200 West that cuts on an angle going, or where a curb cut should have been, but is not. But I thought that was a full pathway in front of that vehicle. I thought maybe, because I had not seen that last time I was at that same Maverick. So I thought it was something new. I don't know how long that little sidewalk piece is been there, but as I was going along that, I did not realize that there was a drop off. And the front tires of my chair, my front casters, dropped off, and my foot plate or my powered footrest on my chair hit the ground. And luckily, there was a couple of people that were on foot walking that had actually stopped and were able to pull me back up onto the sidewalk. Now, this actually is something that's very dangerous for not just the fact that my feet hit the ground, and not for just the fact, that the person was parked in the wheel in that ADA area anyway. But the other fact is that didn't only cause that. So far as I know, my footrest still is operable, but that actually is some of the reasons why a power chair can actually have problems even in the future. It actually hurts things like the front casters. Dropping off of a 4-inch drop off like that is the other reason that power chairs get damaged. My power chair was an $80,000 power chair. They're not cheap. And like in another video that I had done, that basically has something that I've mentioned a little bit about before, but yet at the same time, unfortunately, I don't think that this place of business is actually thinking about that. Another thing that I was at Trolley Square yesterday. Today is January 11th, 2020. Now, on the 10th, yesterday, I was actually at Trolley Square. It's an older mall that was converted from where the trolleys that used to run around Salt Lake used to be housed, and it was the actual, I guess, main station for them way back in the day in the 1800s, when after the pioneers that crossed the plains to Utah had actually established. And obviously there's not a lot of trolleys. There's light rail that's newer, but unfortunately people like to use the word convenience, because I was there and there's an elevator that leads up to a bridge, and on that bridge it crosses the street and goes into the mall. The thing is on the elevator there was a sign that said that they were sorry for the inconvenience. Inconvenience is the word I think that they used. We're sorry for the inconvenience for the elevator not working. The thing is people like to use the word, "Oh, I'm sorry that was not very convenient for you." Well, there's a difference between convenience and accessibility. If something is not accessible, accessibility is one thing, convenience is another. Just because something is not convenient versus accessibility, people get that mixed up all the time. And just like tonight, I was at the Maverick. I was actually going to buy something from them, but just figured, you know what, I wasted my battery power to get over to their store, to their place of business, and they decided, someone decided to park there. I decided I didn't want to spend any money in their establishment, especially tonight, because I know that there has to be other people that have actually complained about that, and they have done nothing. And this is the problem in the United States: is businesses don't think that they have to always be as accessible, and it's ridiculous. Accessibility is not a convenience. Please let me reiterate that. Accessibility is not a convenience. Accessibility is supposed to be accessible. When an elevator is out and there's a set of stairs right by that elevator, some people are not able to go up a set of stairs. For someone who can ride in an elevator but yet still can take the steps, the stairs would be an inconvenience, but yet accessibility, when something is accessible, whether it's getting on a train or a plane or a bus, any of those, when something's accessible, then it's convenient for everyone. When something's not convenient, it's not accessible. There's a difference. It's something that really pisses me off greatly. And I'm trying to not get too mad, but yet I have every right, and so does anyone else with a disability. It's not only just as bad that someone with a disability has to wait around for someone to move their vehicle, not have the accessible pathways that are needed. It might be harder for someone because they can't get up that elevator. Now, if it's someone with a disability and they cannot walk up the stairs, that's a different story too, because it's no longer a convenience. But for someone who is fully able-bodied, that has no problem going up or down a set of stairs, an elevator, or a pathway, is not a big deal. There is no inconvenience. But to someone who cannot use the stairs, or someone who cannot use a pathway because a car is blocking it, or because of something else, that's not an inconvenience. That's blatant disregard to what it's like when you have a disability. I don't know how many other people have actually out there have actually seen or have experienced this, but if you have, you know what, share this video. Share any video that I make. I'm starting to make videos because I'm trying to show people what it's like I wish I was recording when I went off. I actually wish I was recording. This'll learn me a big one. Next time, if it was a perfect pathway, I would have just. Next time that ever happens, I'm in that situation, I'm just gonna record it, whether anyone likes it or not, because I have a right to have my voice heard, and anyone else with a disability has. You have a right to have your voice heard, whether someone else likes it or not, whether they like being on film. You have every right to film it, and if everything's perfectly fine. But if I was recording it, I would have actually recorded myself going off of that. And it's not something, I've had that type of thing happen before, and it's not fun. And it's not fun to have someone, when I go to a wheelchair shop to have my chair fixed, Oh, do you run your chair off a curb like I'm doing it on purpose? If that car was not parked there, I could have used the pathway where the hashtags were, and I could have gone right up, and I would have never had any problem. I just want to let people know that it's very important that people understand how important it is and why I personally stress about accessibility and why I believe accessibility should be a right, should not be a privilege. Someone without any disabilities at all that can walk up and down a set of stairs. I understand there's people that have invisible disabilities, and no, I am not making this video because I'm trying to disinclude you, but yet at the same time, maybe you may have an invisible disability and look like you're healthy, but yet if you can't step up a step, even if it's to step up on the curb, then this could affect you, even if it means that you have a heart condition and no one else can see that, but they will look at you and go, well, just step up on the step, it's not a big deal. But they're never going to know that. And this is why it's so important to make sure that the accessibility, if a person in a wheelchair can drive up that, then it's going to be accessible, not convenient, accessible for you to use that same pathway. But yet, some people will never understand that, it seems like, and it does feel like that. And the other thing I do want to mention is, if you have a disability, don't be afraid to what others will say, oh, you're complaining. It's important that our voices are heard, all of our voices. And if the person who works in the store, if they have a disability, they should be parking in the ADA spot, or even better yet, the company Maverick, they're not that big, but they're not that small either. And yes, they do have money. If they need to make sure that there's an extra spot, they need to put 2 ADA spots then. Have one that is for a disabled employee. If an employee is disabled and needs that space, they need to designate a spot, put a sign up that says that it's ADA accessible parking and that it is for employees. If an employee is not parked in that spot and a regular customer does need to use it, it's still there for them. But if they have 2 spots, one that is designated strictly for employees and one for a disabled customer, that's fine. There needs to be new laws put in the books. Yes, laws need to be updated, but this is something that a company can do. They don't need to say, well, the law states that if there's X amount of spaces in the parking lot for wheelchair, out of those, if there's 10 spots, there needs to be at least 1 spot, or whatever the case may be. If businesses would just go a step above what is minimally required, then from that point on, that would actually show people with disabilities that you care. And if you see this, Maverick, I want you to know that if you truly care, please, as a business, just take that extra step. Yes, maybe for every 10 spaces in a parking lot, you have a wheelchair accessible parking spot. Just take the time, please. That would prove that businesses really want our business. It's something that is minimally an extra cost. Yeah, an extra sign. Yes, when you have your parking lot, repaved and all the restriped, those situations, just paint the accessible, paint an extra. Yes, this might cost a little bit more money, but that little extra sidewalk that goes off of 200 West that cuts in on an angle and then it takes you in front of the dumpster, that could be shaved down and have a curb cut put in. And then just make sure that the curb cut to the other sidewalk that goes directly in front of the store, make sure that's in there. If you do that, it's just those simple little things would actually make accessibility accessible and safe. That was not a good experience. That actually will basically make people not want to use or come to your stores. It's a good way to damage someone's chair. And yeah, maybe I could have squeezed, like I said, between the curb cut and the other and that person's car, whoever it was parked there, and it looks like there's a lot of snow on the back window. So I don't know how long that car's been sitting there, but it has to have been sitting there for a while because it's kind of snowed a little bit on and off today. So they have to have been there for a good while. But at the same time, there is no excuse. There is no excuse for this. It really has pissed me off, and I just want people to see the real validity or the realness in it. I want people to see that. Most people aren't going to look at this, and they're not going to, unless they experience it themselves. And this is why I'm trying to convey these videos, so that people have that. They have this actually in mind. So, please like, share, subscribe, and yes, please comment. Please, put a comment in the description. I will try to answer your comments, but at least, speak up. And if you know of someone with a disability, ask them the question, how hard is this for you to have to get around when someone is parking in one of these spots? It's just common sense. Please, please enjoy the videos that I do post. I hope that you do enjoy them, and I'm just bringing the realness of what it's like. It doesn't feel good when a person does not have access. As a matter of fact, it actually hurts when we don't have access. But good night, and I just hope that this is some food for thought. So until next time, until the next video, I'm signing off, and have a wonderful night.